Think empire.
This is CNN.
For the standoff in Belgrade, Yugoslavia's ex-president declares that he would rather die than surrender to police. From California's power crunch to higher prices at the pump this summer, the nation's energy woes. But is it really a crisis? Plus the fear here over foot and mouth, why U.S. farmers are worried even though an outbreak is an ocean away. It is 3 p.m. on the East Coast, noon in the West, and this is CNN Saturday. Glad to have you join us. I'm Donna Kelly. He once ruled Yugoslavia with an iron fist, and today, ex-President Slobodan Milosevic is steps away from arrest. The longtime leader and indicted war criminal remains holed up in his villa on the outskirts of the capital, Belgrade. He's refusing to surrender on charges stemming from his 10-year reign. Yugoslavia's interior minister insists that Milosevic will be arrested today. Milosevic is vowing not to be taken alive. With the latest on the standoff, here's CNN's Walter Rogers.
A Yugoslav police SWAT team out to arrest former President Slobodan Milosevic. They tossed concussion grenades into the compound where Milosevic lives. But the police underestimated Milosevic's bodyguards' numbers and their willingness to defend him. The Milosevic bodyguards, reportedly including some army loyalists, opened fire on the police assault team, which apparently was under orders not to return fire. And while the police sought shelter in a gatehouse, a defiant Milosevic was inside the compound announcing he would rather die than go to prison. Outside, a swelling crowd of Milosevic supporters shouted encouragement, chanting, "Slobo, you are Serbia." It was a bad day for the new democratic Yugoslav government, which saw its police pinned down and was again reminded that while Milosevic may be out of office, he is not without power, and when cornered, Milosevic can still be a handful of trouble. Minister of Interior Dusan Mihajlovic vowed the government will yet arrest Milosevic, but without bloodshed. The minister made it clear, however, Milosevic will not be sent to The Hague for trial, but will be tried for abuse of power and corruption here in Yugoslavia. Milosevic also added to the charges against himself by allegedly inciting this uprising and by resisting arrest. By failing to arrest Milosevic, the new democratic government here may now be seen as weak. Worse, people thought they were merely acting on orders from the United States, which wants Milosevic tried for war crimes. If someone is guilty, put him in jail, this man said, but the police, he added, were just operating on orders from the West. That view was reinforced when Yugoslavia's Prime Minister Zoran Đinđić appealed to the U.S. Congress to release the money it has been withholding now that Belgrade has made a good faith effort to arrest Milosevic. Ahead lies a risky and protracted period of negotiation to try to persuade Milosevic to surrender. Risky because this confrontation showed some Yugoslav army officers may not have supported the attempted arrest, and even riskier because all this could generate renewed sympathy for Milosevic. Walter Rogers, CNN, Belgrade.
The Bush administration is watching developments in Belgrade very closely. The move to arrest Slobodan Milosevic coincides with a deadline that was set by the U.S. Congress. Unless it's met, Yugoslavia could lose tens of millions of dollars in much-needed U.S. aid. Details now from CNN's Kelly Wallace. She's at the White House.
Well, the State Department has said it is withholding its decision until Monday at the earliest. And while an arrest of Slobodan Milosevic is not a prerequisite for U.S. assistance, one senior administration official did say an arrest would be viewed as an important step forward. At stake for Yugoslav President Vojislav Koštunica and his government, about $50 million in U.S. aid, as well as the U.S. supporting loans going to Yugoslavia from international financial institutions such as the World Bank. President Bush and his aides must determine if the Yugoslav government is doing a number of things, including cooperating with the International War Crimes Tribunal. Now, Slobodan Milosevic was indicted by the tribunal for war crimes stemming from the treatment of ethnic Albanians during the Kosovo conflict 2 years ago. And one factor that could complicate the Bush administration's decision is if Mr. Milosevic is arrested solely on domestic charges such as corruption and not for war crimes, which appears the likely scenario. There is a debate in the United States. Some believe, including the co-sponsor of the legislation guiding the administration's decision, that absolutely no U.S. aid should go forward unless Mr. Milosevic is sent to The Hague to stand trial for international war crimes charges.
You've got to be willing to turn people over who violated international law, turn them over to the International Tribunal at The Hague. And if you don't do that, then we won't give you more money. It's as simple as that.
But others believe an arrest of Mr. Milosevic, even for domestic crimes, would signal the new Yugoslav government's commitment to upholding the rule of law and to democracy, and that commitment should be rewarded with U.S. aid. President Bush is spending the weekend at the presidential retreat in Maryland. Aides say he is being kept informed about the situation in Yugoslavia. The White House says it is monitoring developments very closely, but it is holding back from saying any more until the standoff is resolved. Kelly Wallace, CNN, reporting from the White House.
And for more on the Milosevic standoff, you can turn to our website, and there you'll find continuous updates, in-depth reports, world reaction, even a message board to post your comments. You can log on anytime at CNN.com, and the AOL keyword is CNN. A new prime minister and a new gloves-off policy have heightened tensions between the Israelis and the Palestinians. CNN's Ben Wiedemann has our report.
Most of the Balata refugee camp near Nablus came out for the funeral of 3 men killed Friday in clashes with Israeli troops. Mourners chant a prayer from the Quran, then silenced by the sound of gunfire from others, marking the deaths in a different way. The father of one of the victims, 31-year-old Shaban Said Saloom, collapses in grief. Friday's clashes outside Nablus were the worst this northern West Bank town has seen in weeks. Israel's defense minister says his forces have adopted a gloves-off approach in dealing with the Palestinian uprising. This is the result. More deaths, more funerals. For many people here, it's hard to imagine how that is going to reduce tensions. Israeli officials say the gloves will stay off until the fighting stops.
We are going to adopt a consistent and persistent policy, unfortunately, based on unilateral measures that we are taking, so that we can bring a cessation of hostilities.
After the funeral, demonstrators made their way toward Israeli troops. They kept a safe distance. No shots were fired. No one was hurt. Bravado, as always, was plentiful. I want to tell you, we will keep up this fight, says this young man who hid his identity, and we will do more than we've done before. Our comrades didn't die in vain. Whether in vain or for a cause, few in this town believe they have bade farewell to the last to die in this uprising. Ben Wiedemann, CNN, Nablus on the West Bank.
And just ahead, what summer may hold in store for California's consumers when it comes to power prices, and a closer look at whether the nation is really in the early stages of an energy crisis.
Client asked me, now that you're a part of UBS Warburg, what's it mean to me?
I was on a call this morning with one of their analysts in Singapore. Now we get research right from the source anywhere on the map.
Right, and we've got all this new access to global securities.
One of my clients calls. He wants some information on a software company he may buy. Do you know where?
Maharashtra!
So I hook him up with some UBS Warburg people in the region.
And?
He calls me back in a few days and says,
Dhanyavad, Painweber.
Thank you, UBS Warburg.
Need a better fitting swimsuit? Kindest Cut Swimwear. 80 flattering styles. From Land's End.
If your body is your temple, think of this as its caretaker. Introducing Harmony, a new cereal made just for a woman. It provides nutrients a woman needs, plus soy. All in a delicious vanilla almond oat flake cereal. New Harmony. Made just for a woman's body.
Try remarkably healthy Smart Beet American Flavor Slices. They're a source of essential calcium for health with no fat, no cholesterol, and no lactose. Smart Beet Slices are certified by the American Heart Association.
Who says fat-free can't be delicious?
Take a group of smart, funny, opinionated people with perspectives very much like your own. Take a week of news, issues, politics. Take time to think, discuss, react. From CNN come 5 distinct viewpoints every Saturday night. Take an issue, take a stand. Take 5, a new show from CNN. Tonight at 8:30 Eastern.
We're about to embark on an unprecedented adventure to the great Northwest.
Chris Farley, Matthew Perry, the world broadcast premiere. Oh, God! Almost Heroes, 8 Eastern Sunday, exclusively on the Superstation.
Looks like we may be in for another summer of high prices at the gas pump. The Federal Energy Information Administration says that this summer's gasoline supply could be lower than last year, and that could translate into higher prices at the pump. But how high? Even higher than last summer, perhaps. And if you recall, last summer gas prices peaked above $2 a gallon in the Midwest. And energy troubles in California continue. State officials say that a snow drought will translate into less power at its hydroelectric plants. Snowpack levels in the Sierra Nevadas are 60% what they should be, and less snow means less water, which means less flow at the hydroelectric plants and less power. California gets a quarter of its power from hydroelectric plants. Rising gas prices, energy troubles out west. The Bush administration is on record calling the pending power troubles an energy crisis. Seeking solutions, Interior Secretary Gail Norton is in Alaska today reviewing the Arctic National Wildlife Reserve. The Bush administration wants to drill for oil there, and that fact has many environmentalists enraged.
The safety of our drinking water, along with many other important parts of our environment, is coming under attack, and the person leading that charge is none other than President George W. Bush. In his barely 2 months in office, President Bush has led an assault on the environment, the likes of which our country has not seen in decades.
So what about this energy crisis? Are Americans really in trouble, or is the environment? CNN's Frank Sesno has this report.
Larry Gilbertson is in charge of schools in Alexandria, Virginia. He keeps them working and warm. But soaring energy prices have made his job much harder.
Our normal budget is $350,000 a year for gas. And this year, the price of gas has almost doubled for us.
And despite vigorous efforts to conserve,
we put energy efficient windows in, we put insulation when we on our roofs.
Gilbertson has lost ground. He's got plenty of company this year. Californians cope with rolling blackouts. New Yorkers face dire warnings of electricity disruptions this summer. Home heating prices have doubled or worse for those who use natural gas. Prices at the pumps have bounced erratically. The Bush administration says the country is in dire straits.
America faces a major energy supply crisis over the next 2 decades.
But is it really a crisis? That's certainly what the country endured in the 1970s. The '73 Arab oil embargo tripled the price of oil, causing long lines at the pumps, clobbering the economy, costing 500,000 jobs. This time, experts say, it's different.
It's not a resource crunch.
Energy consultant Jim Plack has been tutoring the Congress.
It's not that it's not available, it's getting it where it is needed and wanted in a timely way. That isn't always easy to do.
Take natural gas, which heats 60 million American homes. Average bills this winter were roughly double last year's tab. Prospects for next winter, some easing, but still about $800. Why the price spikes? Here's the problem. There are massive gas reserves, but not enough pipelines. For example, as a byproduct of oil drilling, Alaska's Prudhoe Bay yields 8 billion cubic feet a day of natural gas, 13% of the country's total daily consumption. But since there are no pipelines there, the gas is pumped right back into the ground. Take electricity. There's more than enough of it in some parts of the country, Texas and New England, for example. But in California, demand has vastly outpaced construction of new power stations and transmission lines. Outages are becoming routine. In the next 20 years, planners say electricity demand will jump by 45%, requiring more than 1,000 new power plants. And then there is oil.
The amount of proved reserves is more than twice now what it was 30 years ago. So the world is not running out of oil.
But there is a shortage of refineries. There hasn't been a new one built since 1975, and lots of old ones have been shut down. The administration says all this adds up to an energy crisis sweeping the nation. But many are uncomfortable with talk of a crisis.
There are a lot of things that need to be addressed at the present time. But I think there are answers for them that are within the realm of what is economically manageable.
The Bush administration is ringing the alarm bells to get people's attention, but even more to change the debate to one that embraces new development of the nation's energy resources. Expect a head-on collision with environmentalists and others who say the priorities and the politics are all wrong. Alaska's oil will be ground zero.
President Bush, don't gamble with America's last great wilderness.
Back in Alexandria, Virginia, Larry Gilbertson is merely worried about next year's heating bill for his schools.
When you have to find that much money, $200,000, it means that that's approximately 4 teachers.
He's hoping for a mild winter. Frank Sesno, CNN, Washington.
Coming up for you, the results of additional tests on North Carolina hogs that had shown early signs possibly of foot and mouth disease, and how farmers in the United States are reacting to the epidemic in Europe.
Connect with yourself. Achieve New Balance.
See the greatest athletes in the world head back to Australia to once and for all prove who's best. See the 2001 Goodwill Games from Brisbane on TNT, where the world's best prove it. Presented by Foster's.
How to speak Australian.
You look beautiful.
Thank you. Your table's all ready. Thanks.
Great.
Oi.
Keeper.
Shall we?
Absolutely.
Beer. Foster's. Australian for beer.
Sunday on CNN Perspectives. We live in a consumer culture, but are the things we buy leaving their mark on nature? Could the products we use be engineered to be more ecologically friendly? Is it possible to control our passion to consume? The next CNN Perspectives, The People's Planet, Consuming Passions, Sunday, 10 Eastern, only on CNN.
Burden of Proof, weekdays 12:30 Eastern on CNN.
I want to bring you up to date on a story we're just getting in here to CNN. There's been a single-engine plane crash in Decatur, Texas. 22 people on board, crashed east of Decatur, actually. We're getting in some pictures courtesy of our affiliate, KDFW. The sheriff's office says no deaths have been reported so far, and they have taken 6 people to local hospitals, took them there by medical helicopter. There you get a look at the plane. 22 people on that single-engine airplane that has crashed east of Decatur, Texas. We will keep you posted and get any other information we can on what may have caused the crash, of course, and where it was going and where it started. Outbreaks of foot and mouth disease continue to rise among Britain's livestock, but there's good news in the United States. Tests on swine in North Carolina have come up negative for the illness. The hogs were processed at a meatpacking plant in eastern North Carolina and then tested by the federal government. There's been no known case of foot and mouth in the United States since 1929. Needless to say, many farmers in the United States have been watching closely as nations like Britain deal with their livestock crisis. CNN's Deborah Fayrick has more.
Farm country in Pennsylvania's Lehigh Valley. It's an ocean away from Europe and the United Kingdom, places where farmers are losing their entire herds to foot and mouth disease.
It's heartbreaking to see all those animals on a pile like that.
Since 1925, the Dietrichs have made their living off dairy cows. They fear what might happen if the highly contagious virus reaches the United States.
The one that I was most focused on was mad cow disease. And then all of a sudden this foot and mouth disease came to light, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this sounds even worse because of it's an airborne disease and can spread so rapidly.
Foot and mouth disease can spread 40 miles depending on which way the wind blows. It takes only 10 virus particles to infect a cow.
The cow is basically really reduced to such a poor level, and she will become sterile and she'll never quite get over it.
Agriculture specialists have mobilized, alerting farmers what symptoms to look for. But veterinarians say by the time the first sign appears, it may be too late.
The disease is highly transmissible. The incubation period is short, so once you actually see clinical signs in the first cow, it's likely that many others are in the incubation stage.
The 500 cows on Linacre's farm produce 2,000 gallons of milk every day, used for cheese, butter, even Hershey's chocolate. Because the Dietrichs breed their own calves, they feel somewhat protected from foot and mouth disease.
We are practically a closed herd in that we don't buy animals into the herd.
They also grow most of their own feed. Even so, on any given day, there are a dozen people who visit this farm. There's the milk tester, the feed salesman, the veterinarian, other farmers, and the dairy truck. It's a network connecting farms that are miles apart. Because it can spread so easily, Pennsylvania, like other states, is ready to call a state of emergency if any case of foot and mouth disease is confirmed. The Dietrichs are insured against certain catastrophes, but not this.
It would actually shut us down. We'd be done.
If the animals have to be killed, the government would pay the Dietrichs fair market value, about $500,000 for the whole herd. Still, the Dietrichs would lose their livelihood, possibly for years, until it is safe to farm again. Deborah Fayrick, CNN, Tripoli, Pennsylvania.
Check of the weather is just ahead for you, and what's going on up there that could disrupt telephones, television, and other communications this weekend down here.
Client asked me, now that you're part of UBS Warburg, what's it mean to me?
I was on a call this morning with one of their analysts in Singapore. Now we get research right from the source anywhere on the map.
Right, and we've got all this new access to global securities.
One of my clients calls. He wants some information on a software company he may buy. Do you know where?
Maharashtra!
So I hook him up with some UBS Warburg people in the region.
And?
He calls me back in a few days and says,
Dhanyavad, Painweber. Thank you, UBS Warburg.
Would you like to refinance your mortgage to a lower fixed rate or use the equity in your home to consolidate your credit card or other debts? Just log on to ditech.com or call 1-800-71-FIXED. Today's low fixed rates with 0 points is only 7.125%, APR 7.295%. And there are no upfront fees, lower interest rates, lower monthly payments. It's smart money from ditech.com. Apply online or call us at 1-800-71-FIXED.
Over 20,000 stories and counting. More than 200 broadcasters from over 130 countries. All brought to you by one newscast.
CNN World Report.
CNN World Report, where journalists around the globe report the news as they see it. A unique perspective on international news. CNN World Report. Sunday, 2 Eastern on CNN.
Get inside the NBA with the best double team in basketball. Join host Andre Aldridge and former NBA player and coach Kevin Lockery as they work the give and go with your questions and comments online at cnnsi.com.
And time to run the give and go.
Get all the latest news and insider information from around the league on This Week in the NBA. Sunday, 10:30 a.m. Eastern on CNN.
On the upper right quarter of the sun, satellite readings are showing the biggest sunspot cluster seen in at least a decade. Intense storms are raging on the sun, which scientists say could briefly disrupt telecommunications this weekend. Already some radio disruptions have been reported. The solar flares also created a pretty spectacular light show for folks in the southwestern United States. Like to see some rain, but not the spectacular kind, not all at once in Florida. Our Jackie Jarris is here for weather. Jackie.
Well, Donna, that's exactly what's going on in central parts of Florida. We're watching right now. A couple of severe thunderstorm warnings are in effect on some very intense cells just to the east of the Tampa area near Orlando, and then also to the east of the Orlando area. And they are all pushing off into an easterly direction, and we are expecting this line to continue to stay on the strong or severe side at least for a good 20 to 30 minutes, and we will watch this part of the country for severe weather throughout the rest of the afternoon and into the evening. As a matter of fact, just to the south of there, we have a severe thunderstorm watch which will be in effect, including Fort Myers over to West Palm Beach. That will stay in effect until 6 o'clock Eastern time into the evening hours. Now, one other spot we're watching for severe weather is going to be Arkansas into the Texarkana area, also including Shreveport and Greenville, Mississippi. Just a slight risk of isolated severe storms, and we have had a couple of warnings in central parts of Arkansas, so that's going to be an area to watch into the afternoon hours as well. We do have an area of low pressure along with a cold front that is crossing the midsection of the country, and that's what's kicking up the showers and the isolated thunder showers there. You head up into parts of Wisconsin, and we're starting to see some of that snowfall, and things could get a little bit on the icy side. Temperatures cooling down back behind that system, though, and high pressure is going to start to settle into parts of the southeast, and that means we are going to be seeing a very nice warming trend. Now, high temperatures today, really, we don't have a lot to complain about, especially out to the west. We've got lots of 60s and 70s for high temperatures into the afternoon hours. We do have some 30s up there in north central parts of the country, and also in New England from upstate New York extending up towards Maine, where they are seeing some heavy snow still into northern parts of the state. And as we head into tomorrow, that low pressure storm system we were just showing you, that's going to continue to pull in some of this cooler air. So we'll watch for things to drop a little bit into the east, more 40s throughout the Ohio Valley than 50s, but we will continue to stay very mild out to the west. I also want to show you your forecast as we head into Monday, because we do have some more changes. We talked about that warming trend into the southeast. We have another system which is going to be crossing the Rockies there. That means more rain and snow in the Pacific Northwest, and that heads into the midsection of the country for your Tuesday. Here's a look now at a few specific forecasts. And one sure sign of spring, daylight saving time goes into effect tomorrow, 2 a.m. Sunday morning. You're going to want to set those clocks ahead 1 hour, so at 2 o'clock it becomes 3 o'clock. And yes, tomorrow is April 1st, but Donna, I assure you, no April Fool's joke here.
All right, Jackie, thanks. Have a quick check of the headlines after this break, followed by your health.
To get more commerce out of your e-commerce, visit Accenture.com. Now it gets interesting.
Today on Evans Novak Hunt and Shields, Senator Joseph Lieberman talks about a possible presidential run in 2004. Today, 5:30 p.m. Eastern on CNN.
I was in the 6th grade on an honor roll and everything, then I got pregnant. School was not important to me, so I dropped out. And now that I'm 15, I have 2 babies. It's important for me to finish school because I don't want my babies to have to go through the things I went through. I don't want to live off other people for the rest of my life. I want to be somebody. I don't want to live like this.
Hi, I'm Rick from Empire Glass. Let Empire Glass replace your cracked windshield and will still pay up to $100 of your comprehensive insurance deductible. And will now give you 24 free dinners to Sweet Tomatoes, the ultimate salad buffet restaurants, with any windshield replacement. So for the highest in quality windshields, including free mobile service, up to $100 off your comprehensive deductible, and 24 free dinners to Sweet Tomatoes. Call Empire Glass today at 503-251-9881. When you think glass, think Empire.
The Moneyline News Hour, weeknight 6:30 Eastern on CNN.
Hello, I'm Donna Kelly at the CNN Center in Atlanta. Your health is coming up, but we want to give you a check of the headlines first and a little bit more information on that plane crash we were telling you about a few minutes ago that happened in Decatur, Texas, which is northwest of Fort Worth. Pictures here courtesy of our affiliate KDFW. A single-engine airplane, 22 people on board, crashed east of Decatur. 6 people have been taken by helicopter to local hospitals. So far, though, they are not reporting any deaths of the 22 people. Some of the folks injured have been treated at the scene. But as we say, so far no deaths reported in this plane crash with 22 people on board east of Decatur, Texas. We'll keep you posted on any new information that we do get in that plane crash. Slobodan Milosevic is vowing not to be taken alive. Yugoslavia's former dictator remains holed up in his villa in Belgrade. Authorities have his home surrounded. Also outside, hundreds of Milosevic supporters promising to repel any attempt to arrest the former president. Milosevic refuses to surrender on charges stemming from his 13-year reign, but Yugoslavia's interior minister insists that he will be arrested today. Scattered fighting today between Palestinian protesters and Israeli troops. At least 14 Palestinians injured. The violence came as Palestinians gathered to mourn and vent their anger over several Palestinians killed in this week's clashes. Friday was one of the bloodiest days in recent weeks. Overall, more than 450 people have died in clashes that have raged now for 6 months. And that is it for this edition of CNN Saturday. We'll have more news at the top of the hour. I'll see you then. Your Health starts right now.
Today on Your Health, how close are we to cloning a human being? 2 groups say they are ready to conduct the experiment, a test that some are calling risky and dangerous.
If these rates of smoking continue, we're going to see a continuing increase in deaths from lung cancer in women, from cardiovascular disease, from reproductive health.
A new alarm is sounding in the tobacco war. And Florida's wheelchair warrior, a man on a mission for more compliance and enforcement of the Americans with Disabilities Act.
Hello and welcome to Your Health. From the CNN Center in Atlanta, I'm medical correspondent Rhonda Rowland. When the world first heard about Dolly, the controversial